What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and first off, I need to apologize a little bit. I know I've kind of been mentioning here and there about possibly getting back to doing some, like, music top 10 kind of movies, and I really haven't been doing that. So, apologies on that, if you were really looking forward to those. But I will say, like, I legitimately have some ideas together. I even have some notes for a couple of them in particular. So I'm pretty sure I will be getting to some videos of that sort sometime in the near future. I will say, though, before those really return, it probably won't be quite as frequent as they used to. I know I used to have those kind of on like a rotation where I'd put one out there like once a month. I doubt it'll be quite that frequent. Also, the number of entries, it might not all be top 10s. Let's just say, like, I might do top 5 in some cases, or, you know, who knows? The point is, the number might change here and there for some certain kinds of things, because, like, I want to do videos on them, but I might not necessarily have 10 songs that are really good choices, at least that I personally have my own copies of. And while I'm on that subject, yes, I will still be limiting these videos to songs that I personally have. Yes, I know there are more songs out there. I've heard more songs out there. And yes, I know some of those other songs might actually be better choices for these videos that I'm doing. However, I don't want to have to bother with trying to think through every possible song in all of existence that could fit the category in question. So, I'm just going to keep it to my own personal music collection. So, yeah. In terms of my delay in getting back to these types of videos, some of it was just trying to think through some ideas and, you know, put those together and actually have more than just one random kind of one-off thing that it's like, oh yeah, here this is, and now I'm not going to do it again for like another year. But some of it also came down to the fact that, like, since the last top 10 music thing that I put together, I have changed video editing programs, actually kind of twice. I had an entirely different one, and now I've gotten, like, an updated version of that same one. But I think I kind of have things figured out now with this newer version of it, to where it wouldn't be too difficult to record these and edit them and put it all together. So, that's kind of the reason why it took me a while getting back to this. No guarantees on how soon exactly, but I would guess within the next month I'll have another one out there. But on a different note, just so I can have this video actually be a decent length, I kind of wanted to, while I'm on the topic of music, I kind of wanted to add a bit of a theory of sorts. Something I've kind of been thinking through, and it revolves around one of my favorite bands out there, Skillet. Now, for those of you who don't know Skillet, it's like pretty much the biggest Christian rock group out there right now. Possibly the biggest one ever. And, like, you know, they've had multiple songs chart well, even in, like, you know, mainstream radio play and stuff like that. And they're still an overtly Christian group. Like, if you talk to them at all, their faith is obvious. But in any case, so the theory I have kind of regards the names of their past few albums. like, I know a while back, at least when I was a bit younger, there was kind of this thing for a little while that some of my friends and I seemed to like to do. But basically, the idea was, okay, let's try and string together some sort of story type thing involving the names of songs within an album or the names of the albums themselves over a various artist or band collection. And so I have a little bit of a theory regarding something like that with Skillet albums. There's a possibility you could argue this would go back like a vast number of their albums, but I'm going to concentrate primarily on the past 6 album titles of theirs. And if I were to ever interview Skillet, this would be like the number one question I would want to ask them. Because it's one of those things where it feels like it could be sort of coincidental, but it also could be that, like, yes, they're intentionally having these past so many album titles as like a series. So my theory regarding this goes all the way back to starting with their Collide album. And really the main focus in my mind is that, you know, it could revolve around like someone's faith journey in a sense. And you could even argue that, like, maybe going one album before that to Alien Youth is where this would really kind of start the chain. Because if you think of, I mean, again, Alien Youth is a bit of a stretch on this one, but let's say that is kind of representing these, like, teens or anybody in general, young people who go out into the world with a strong faith and they start witnessing to their friends and they start, you know, sharing their faith. And then it hits some other person that they know at school, and it's somehow this particular young person now seems totally different from what they did before. And so that's where the Alien Youth concept could come in. But then you get to Collide, and then it's like, okay, you have this really big faith, life, God encounter of a sort. Or at least you encounter the idea of faith and God and the Bible and everything that means. And for someone who doesn't already believe, this can come as a really significant, almost, you know, slap to the face kind of realization that it's like, oh wow, I've been living my whole life up to this point without even considering any of this, and without even really knowing what all of this meant, and it's such a drastic difference in viewpoint. So that's where the Collide thing could come in. So then their next album title is Comatose, and you could argue, I mean, really, without even bringing the faith component into it, you've got Collide and Comatose as obvious, like, okay, you're in a serious enough collision, you're probably going to be in a coma for a bit if there was any serious brain damage or anything like that. But in this case, with the faith aspect to it, it's like kind of that floating around, almost questioning everything that you then experience, because it's like, again, that sort of drastic slap to the face, change in your perspective, and it's like, wait, what do I do with this? Have I really been so wrong up to this point in my life? And just this kind of questioning, almost this not knowing what to do with yourself, and this kind of like in between, do I believe, do I not believe, sort of experience as you hopefully transition to a point where you do have faith. But some people don't. Some people don't get past that because they have all these questions and they're left in this limbo kind of state like you would be if you were in a coma. But anyway, so the next album title was Awake. And I would say, again, in this theory, that symbolizes that, okay, you've come to see the truth. You've come to, faith in God. You've come to realize that, you do believe in Jesus. You do believe and have faith in his life and death and resurrection, and that saves us from sin. And so that would be the Awake album getting worked into this idea. And their next album title was Rise. So then, when you're fresh in your faith, I mean, yes, you typically get kind of a fire in your belly, so to speak. You become really zealous for what you believe in, and you kind of want to know and learn more. And I think that's kind of almost like a book has a rising action to it, or a movie, or whatever. Some story writing work, essentially. Like, there's a rising action to it where, the plot thickens and there's all these other details being added. It's kind of similar to the whole rising idea in your faith, because you're learning more about the Bible and God and the Trinity and what it all means to you and how you should go about living this life of faith. And then you get to Unleashed, which was the next Skillet album title. And so at this point, it's like, okay, you maybe feel like you've gotten a decent amount of knowledge or experience or whatever under your belt, and you're finally going out there into the world and telling others what you believe, spreading the gospel, and just telling other people friends, family, coworkers, anybody you can, about Jesus and salvation and all that kind of stuff. Maybe not necessarily, like Cage Stage Calvinist style, where it's like you're so zealous for it that like you almost end up turning more people away than you do helping. But still, point is, you're now, unleashed to the world. You are more accurately unleashing your faith to the world and living out the kind of life you should, and preaching the gospel and basically bringing others to God. And so then we come to Skillet's most recent album titled Victorious, which there are a couple of different ways you can think about this, even in regards to a faith journey specifically. Like, you could think through it in the sense that, at the end of your life, now that you've done all these things, that you've lived a life of faith, realizing that you're close to the end of it, you look back on what you did and realize that, yes, that without a doubt you did what was right. You are victorious over, the sin that was in your life, victorious over sin in others' lives as well, because you have brought them to Christ and to salvation. And more important than that, you're victorious in your eternal life, because you get to spend eternity with God. And so I guess the other viewpoint on the whole victorious thing is just like kind of almost a subset of that, where you're realizing that, you have, received salvation, that you have God's Spirit within you. You are victorious over sin and death, and you no longer live live your life in fear of that. So there's kind of, I mean, they're closely related, I guess, but one of them is more like, okay, well, like assuming this was the last Skillet album ever, then you would maybe be inclined more to go with the end of life thought on that. Whereas if they keep doing more albums and there's more that could possibly get added to this theory, this connecting theme between these album titles, then, you know, then Victorious might be more of a just another step in that process. But I'm not even saying specifically that that was what Skillet was going for with all this, but I'd be interested to know. And again, if I were to ever interview Skillet, I would want to make absolutely sure that I get this question in there to know if this was intentional or like if it was just kind of a thing where they just kind of had these songs in their albums with these titles and they just went with it, and there wasn't really a specific intent to connect these albums and have them be some sort of sequence of faith or something. So anyway, I guess that's really all I've got for now. Again, just a theory, just kind of my thought on those albums, but it really wasn't something that I felt like I had to think real hard about. Because there are some of these where it's like, okay, you try and put stuff together, and it's really kind of stretching it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments with other album connecting theories, with thoughts on this particular one, or if you think there's a better way to connect these Skillet albums together. Or if you think I'm just completely crazy and I'm making stuff up, but whatever. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to give you like an actual truthful for sure answer to this. It's just more of a, fun kind of thing that I thought might be interesting to ponder. So anyway, that's going to do it for now. Again, should be getting to more top 10 music stuff soon, but it might not be as frequent as it was before. So anyway, as always, like and share if you enjoyed. Subscribe and click the bell to get updates when I post new stuff to my channel. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All that info is down in the description below the video. And as I said before, leave your comments down below that with your thoughts on this video, other video ideas, anything you have for me. Let me know it down below. So that's it. I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, stay cool, people.